Princess Alexandra walked through the long corridors of Kensington Palace, her heels clicking softly against the polished marble floors. At 87 years old, she moved with the grace and dignity that came from a lifetime of royal service. Today was different from her usual quiet days. Today, she carried with her a decision that would send ripples through the entire royal family. In her private sitting room, Alexandra approached an ornate mahogany cabinet that had remained locked for nearly 2 years. The cabinet held something precious, the Queen Mother's most treasured private jewelry collection. These were not the famous crown jewels that tourists came to see at the Tower of London. These were the personal pieces that Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, had worn during intimate family gatherings, quiet afternoons at Clarence House, special moments away from the public eye. Alexandra turned the small golden key in the lock. Hearing the familiar click that she remembered from her childhood visits to the Queen Mother, inside, velvet-lined drawers revealed treasures that sparkled even in the dim afternoon light. There was the delicate diamond bracelet that Queen Mary had given to her daughter-in-law as a wedding gift, a stunning sapphire necklace that had been a birthday present from King George VI during their courting days, pearl earrings that the Queen Mother had worn to every Christmas dinner for 30 years. Each piece held memories, stories, and a connection to a woman who had been the heart of the royal family for decades. Alexandra had been chosen as the keeper of these treasures, but she had never felt comfortable making decisions about their future alone. The Queen Mother had trusted her with this responsibility, but had left no specific instructions about what should happen to the collection after her death. For months, Alexandra had wrestled with the question of inheritance. Royal protocol suggested that such personal items should naturally flow to the current queen consort, Camilla. After all, she now held the position that the Queen Mother had occupied for so many years. But Alexandra felt something was not right about this automatic assumption. The pieces were not just jewelry, they were symbols of warmth, family unity, and the kind of maternal love that the Queen Mother had shown to every member of the royal household. As Alexandra held the sapphire necklace up to the light, she thought about Catherine, the Princess of Wales. Over the years, she had watched Catherine navigate royal life with remarkable grace. Unlike some who had married into the family, Catherine had never seemed to struggle with the weight of royal expectations. She had embraced her duties while maintaining a genuine warmth that reminded Alexandra strongly of the Queen Mother herself. Catherine had shown particular kindness to Alexandra during family gatherings. While others might rush past with polite nods, Catherine always took time for real conversations. She asked about Alexandra's charity work, remembered details about her interests, and treated her not just as a royal relative, but as a person worth knowing. This genuine care had not gone unnoticed by the elderly princess. Moreover, Alexandra had observed how Catherine interacted with the younger generation of royals. She had the same natural maternal instinct that the Queen Mother had possessed. During recent family events, Alexandra had watched Catherine quietly help nervous younger royals feel comfortable, offer gentle guidance without being pushy, and create an atmosphere of warmth that drew people together rather than intimidating them. The decision had been forming in Alexandra's mind for weeks, but today it crystallized into certainty. These jewels belonged with someone who embodied the same spirit as their original owner. They belonged with someone who would wear them not as symbols of status, but as connections to family history and love. Alexandra knew this decision would be controversial. Royal protocol had its own momentum, and disrupting expected inheritance patterns was never taken lightly. Camilla, as queen consort, had every reasonable expectation that such personal royal items would come to her. The press would certainly have opinions about any deviation from normal procedures. Palace advisors would likely be uncomfortable with the precedent such a decision might set. But Alexandra had lived long enough to understand that sometimes the right choice was not the expected choice. The Queen Mother herself had occasionally made decisions that surprised people, always guided by her instinct for what would best serve the family and the institution in the long run. Alexandra believed this was one of those moments when following the heart was more important than following convention. She carefully lifted each piece from its velvet housing, examining the craftsmanship and remembering occasions when she had seen the Queen Mother wear them. The pearl earrings had been present at countless family dinners where the Queen Mother had served as the peaceful center around which sometimes difficult family dynamics had revolved. The diamond bracelet had caught the light during garden parties where the Queen Mother had made every guest feel personally welcomed and valued. These pieces had been part of creating an absolute atmosphere of love and acceptance that had helped hold the royal family together through various challenges and changes. Alexandra believed they should continue that mission with someone who had the same gift for bringing out the best in people and creating harmony rather than division. As afternoon turned to evening, Alexandra made her final decision. Tomorrow, she would arrange a private meeting with Catherine. Not a formal palace appointment with secretaries and protocols, but a quiet personal conversation between two women who had both dedicated their lives to serving the royal family. She would explain her reasoning, present the collection, and ask Catherine to carry forward the legacy of love and family unity that these pieces represented. Alexandra knew there would be consequences. Conversations with palace officials, difficult explanations to other family members, and probably some uncomfortable moments in the press. But she also knew that the Queen Mother, if she could somehow observe this decision, would understand and approve. The elderly princess closed the cabinet gently, but did not lock it. Tomorrow would bring changes, conversations, and possibly conflict. But it would also bring the satisfaction of knowing that these precious symbols of royal family love were going to someone who would honor their true meaning and continue the tradition of warmth and grace they represented. The next morning arrived with typical London drizzle. But inside Kensington Palace, Princess Alexandra felt a sense of clarity she had not experienced in months. She had slept peacefully for the first time since beginning to wrestle with the question of the Queen Mother's jewelry collection. Her decision felt right in the way that important decisions sometimes do, not because they are easy, but because they align with deeper values and instincts. Alexandra's lady-in-waiting, Margaret, entered the morning room with tea and the daily correspondence. Margaret had served Alexandra for 15 years and had developed an intuitive understanding of her moods and needs. This morning, she immediately sensed something significant in the air. "Your Royal Highness seems particularly energetic this morning," Margaret observed, while arranging the morning papers. "Shall I confirm your usual afternoon schedule?" Alexandra set down her teacup with a gentle but decisive sound. "Actually, Margaret, I need you to arrange something rather specific today. I would like a private meeting with the Princess of Wales. Nothing formal through her office. I would prefer this to remain quiet for now." Margaret's eyebrows rose slightly. In all her years of service, she had learned to read the significance of various royal requests. This one carried unusual weight. "Of course, Your Royal Highness. Would you prefer the meeting here or at Adelaide Cottage?" "Here, I think. My private sitting room, perhaps around 3 o'clock if Catherine is available." And Margaret. Alexandra paused meaningfully. This conversation needs to remain completely confidential. No mentions to anyone else on staff, no notes in the official calendar. Within an hour, Margaret had successfully arranged the meeting. Catherine had been intrigued by the unusual personal request, but immediately agreed to the afternoon appointment. She cleared her schedule and made arrangements for the children to be cared for, sensing that whatever Princess Alexandra wanted to discuss was important enough to deserve her complete attention. Meanwhile, across London, at Clarence House, Queen Consort Camilla was having a very different kind of morning. She had been reviewing plans for upcoming royal engagements with her private secretary when an unexpected visitor was announced, Lady Susan Hussey, one of the late Queen's most trusted ladies-in-waiting and someone whose opinion carried significant weight in royal circles. "Your Majesty," Lady Susan began after the usual courtesies. "I hope you don't mind me calling unexpectedly. But there's something I felt you should be aware of. There have been some ... conversations ... about the Queen Mother's personal effects that were left in Princess Alexandra's care." Camilla set down her pen and gave Lady Susan her full attention. "Oh, I assumed those matters had been settled long ago. Princess Alexandra has been so discreet about the entire arrangement that discretion may be about to change," Lady Susan said carefully. I have heard from reliable sources that Princess Alexandra has been giving considerable thought to the final disposition of the Queen Mother's private jewelry collection. There seems to be some question about whether normal inheritance protocols will be followed. The implication was clear, and Camilla felt a familiar tightness in her chest. Even after years as queen consort, she sometimes felt like she was walking through a minefield of royal expectations and unspoken judgments. The Queen Mother's jewelry collection represented more than valuable items. It was a symbol of acceptance and belonging within the royal family's inner circle. "I see," Camilla said quietly. "And what exactly are these sources suggesting?" Lady Susan chose her words carefully. "There appears to be consideration being given to alternative arrangements. I felt you should be prepared for the possibility of unexpected developments." Back at Kensington Palace, Catherine arrived promptly at 3 o'clock. Wearing a simple but elegant navy dress that showed her respect for the formality of a royal meeting while avoiding any appearance of trying too hard, she found Princess Alexandra in her sitting room. Surrounded by the comfortable furniture and personal photographs that made the space feel warm despite its grand proportions. "Catherine, my dear, thank you so much for making time for this," Alexandra said, rising to greet her with genuine warmth. "Please, sit wherever you're comfortable. I hope you don't mind that I asked Margaret to serve tea in the old-fashioned way, the proper china and everything your grandmother would have approved of." Catherine settled into a comfortable chair, immediately struck by the slightly formal but affectionate tone of Alexandra's greeting. "Of course, Your Royal Highness. I'm honored that you wanted to meet privately. Is there something specific you wanted to discuss?" Alexandra moved to the mahogany cabinet that had dominated her thoughts for so long. "There is, actually, something quite important that I've been considering for some time now. It concerns some items that belong to the Queen Mother, her private jewelry collection that she entrusted to my care before her death." Catherine's expression became more attentive. She had heard references to this collection but had never seen it or given much thought to questions about its eventual disposition. Such matters seemed far removed from her daily concerns about her children, her royal duties, and the countless practical details of royal life. "The Queen Mother was very dear to me," Alexandra continued, "and when she asked me to oversee these particular pieces, I took the responsibility seriously. But she left the final decisions about their future to my judgment. It's been a weighty responsibility, and not one I've taken lightly." As Alexandra opened the cabinet, Catherine drew in a quiet breath. Even from across the room, the beauty and craftsmanship of the pieces were stunning. But more than that, she could sense the emotional weight they carried, the history, the memories, and the love they represented. "They're beautiful," Catherine said softly. "I can only imagine the memories attached to each piece." "Exactly," Alexandra said with satisfaction. "You understand immediately what makes these pieces special. They're not just valuable objects. They're repositories of family history, love, and the particular warmth that the Queen Mother brought to every family gathering." Catherine began to sense where this conversation might be heading, and felt a mixture of honor and concern. "Your Royal Highness, surely these pieces should follow normal inheritance." "That," Alexandra interrupted gently but firmly, "is exactly what I want to talk with you about." Princess Alexandra moved closer to the open cabinet, her fingers tracing the edge of a velvet jewelry box with reverent care. "Catherine, I want you to understand something important about these pieces. When the Queen Mother entrusted them to me, she didn't just hand over valuables. She shared stories, memories, and her hopes for how these treasures might continue to bring joy and unity to our family." Catherine shifted forward in her chair, drawn into the emotional weight of Alexandra's words. "What kinds of stories?" "This pearl necklace," Alexandra said, lifting a lustrous strand that caught the afternoon light, "was worn by the Queen Mother on the day she first met you. She told me later that she had chosen it specifically because pearls represent wisdom gained through experience, and she wanted to wear something meaningful when meeting the woman who would become so important to William's happiness." Catherine's eyes widened. She remembered that first formal introduction to the Queen Mother. How nervous she had been. How the elderly royal had immediately put her at ease with genuine warmth and interest in her life and background. The idea that the Queen Mother had chosen her jewelry thoughtfully for that meeting added a layer of significance to the memory. Moving to another piece was something the Queen Mother wore to every family Christmas for 25 years. She believed sapphires brought families together and protected those she loved from discord and unhappiness. She would pin it to her dress each Christmas morning and make a silent wish for family harmony throughout the coming year. As Catherine listened to these stories, she began to understand why Princess Alexandra had asked for this private meeting. These weren't just beautiful objects, they were tangible connections to a woman who had been the emotional heart of the royal family for decades. The responsibility of caring for such meaningful pieces would be enormous. "Your Royal Highness," Catherine said carefully, "I'm deeply touched that you're sharing these stories with me. But surely Camilla, as Queen Consort, should be the one to inherit pieces of such significance." Alexandra sat down across from Catherine, her expression becoming more serious. "That would certainly be the expected path. And I want you to know that I have great respect for Camilla and the role she now fulfills. But Catherine, the Queen Mother, was very specific about what mattered most to her regarding these pieces. She cared less about titles and positions than she did about the spirit in which they would be worn and treasured." Catherine felt her heart rate increase slightly. The implications of this conversation were becoming clearer, and she could sense the potential complications that might arise from any deviation from normal royal inheritance patterns. "I've watched you over the years," Alexandra continued, "and I've seen qualities in you that remind me strongly of the Queen Mother herself. Your natural warmth with people, your ability to make others feel valued and comfortable, your genuine care for family unity rather than personal advancement, these are the qualities the Queen Mother treasured most." Outside, the London drizzle had intensified, creating a cocoon of privacy around their conversation. Catherine could hear the rain against the windows and felt the weight of the moment settling around them. Whatever decision Princess Alexandra had reached, it was clearly the result of long consideration and deep conviction. "There's something else," Alexandra said quietly. "The Queen Mother once told me that she hoped these pieces would always go to someone who would wear them as reminders of family love rather than symbols of status. She wanted them to continue bringing people together, as she had always tried to do." Catherine thought about the royal family dynamics she had observed over the years. While everyone was unfailingly polite and proper in public, she knew there were underlying tensions and competing interests that sometimes made family gatherings challenging. The idea of being responsible for items meant to promote harmony felt both honored and daunting. "I need to be honest with you, Catherine," Alexandra said. "If I give these pieces to you, instead of following the expected inheritance pattern, there will be conversations, difficult ones. Some people will question my decision, and there may be pressure for you to transfer them to Camilla to maintain protocol." Catherine felt a knot forming in her stomach. The thought of being at the center of royal family drama was deeply uncomfortable. She had worked hard to maintain good relationships with all family members and avoid any appearance of seeking special treatment or recognition. "Your Royal Highness, I'm incredibly honored that you would even consider me for such a responsibility. But I'm also concerned about the potential consequences. The last thing I would want is to create division or discomfort within the family." Alexandra smiled with genuine affection. "And that response, my dear, is exactly why I know these pieces belong with you." The Queen Mother would have said exactly the same thing. She always put family harmony ahead of her own interests. Catherine sat quietly for a moment, processing the complexity of the situation. She could see how much thought and care Alexandra had put into this decision. But she could also imagine how others might react to such an unexpected inheritance arrangement. "What would you like me to do?" Catherine asked finally. "I would like you to accept these pieces in the spirit they are offered as symbols of family love and continuity, as tools for bringing people together rather than driving them apart. I believe you will find appropriate ways to honor their history while making them part of your own story of service to our family and country." Catherine looked again at the open cabinet, seeing now not just beautiful jewelry, but a legacy of love, responsibility, and the challenge of living up to the example set by one of the most beloved members of the royal family. The weight of the decision felt enormous, but so did the honor of being trusted with such precious family history. "May I ask one question?" Catherine said. "Have you discussed this decision with anyone else in the family?" Alexandra's expression became slightly more guarded. "Not yet. I wanted to speak with you first, to understand your feelings about accepting such a responsibility. But yes, there will need to be conversations with others. Some may be more difficult than others." Catherine nodded, understanding that they were about to enter uncharted territory that would require careful navigation and possibly some uncomfortable moments for everyone involved. The emergency room at Scripps Memorial Hospital erupted into controlled chaos as the helicopter carrying Sarah Chen touched down on the rooftop helipad. Dr. Amanda Foster, the chief of emergency medicine, had been briefed on Sarah's condition during the flight and had assembled a full trauma team to meet the aircraft. Sarah was conscious but disoriented as she was rushed into the emergency department. The bright lights and sudden activity overwhelmed her after weeks of isolation on the ocean. She gripped Petty Officer Chen's hand tightly, afraid that if she let go, this rescue might turn out to be another hallucination. Chen stayed with her until the medical team took over, reassuring Sarah that she was safe. Dr. Foster's initial examination revealed the full extent of Sarah's ordeal. Beyond the obvious dehydration and exposure injuries, she was suffering from severe electrolyte imbalances that could have caused heart problems or seizures. Her broken wrist had healed incorrectly and would require surgery to repair. Most concerning was evidence of kidney stress and the possibility of permanent damage from prolonged dehydration. The medical team worked quickly to stabilize Sarah's condition, for fluids had to be administered carefully to avoid overwhelming her system, which had adapted to severe dehydration over 3 weeks. Her body temperature needed to be gradually normalized, and her damaged skin required specialized treatment to prevent infection and minimize scarring. Sarah's family arrived at the hospital. Within hours of notification about her rescue, her parents, Dr. James and Linda Chen, had flown in from Seattle, while her younger brother David drove down from Los Angeles. They had spent over 3 weeks believing Sarah was dead, and seeing her alive seemed like a miracle they couldn't quite believe. The reunion was emotional, but brief. As Sarah needed extensive medical treatment, her family could see how much she had suffered, but they were amazed by her survival. Dr. Foster explained that Sarah's scientific background and methodical approach to rationing supplies had probably saved her life. Many people wouldn't have survived even half as long under similar conditions. During her first night in the hospital, Sarah struggled with anxiety and insomnia. The steady sound of waves that had surrounded her for weeks was gone, replaced by the unfamiliar beeping of medical equipment and voices in the hallway. She found herself missing the rhythm of the ocean, even though it had nearly killed her. Psychiatrist Dr. Rebecca Martinez was called in to evaluate Sarah's mental state. Surviving such a traumatic experience often led to post-traumatic stress disorder, and the isolation and hallucinations Sarah had experienced made psychological support crucial. Dr. Martinez found Sarah to be remarkably stable considering her ordeal, but she warned that delayed reactions were common. Sarah's story quickly attracted media attention. News outlets were fascinated by her 3-week survival and the unusual circumstances of her rescue by Navy SEALs. Hospital administrators worked to protect her privacy while she recovered, but requests for interviews poured in from around the world. Sarah wasn't ready to talk publicly about her experience yet. Commander Morrison visited Sarah on her 3rd day in the hospital. He wanted to check on her recovery and was curious about the details of her survival. Sarah was able to give him a more complete account of what had happened, and Morrison was impressed by her resourcefulness and determination. The conversation revealed interesting details about Sarah's time at sea. She had developed a daily routine to maintain her sanity, including morning exercises within the confines of her life raft, careful inventory of her supplies, and evening reflection time when she wrote in her waterproof journal. These habits had helped her maintain hope and purpose during the darkest moments. Morrison learned that Sarah had actually seen aircraft on several occasions but had been unable to signal them effectively. Her single flare had been fired on the second day, too early and too far from any potential rescuers. She had saved her other signaling devices for when they might be more effective, showing remarkable discipline under extreme stress. Sarah's physical recovery progressed steadily. Surgery on her wrist was successful, though she would need months of physical therapy to regain full function. Her kidney function gradually improved with proper hydration and medical support. The worst of her burns began to heal, though some scarring would be permanent reminders of her ordeal. The psychological aspects of recovery proved more complex. Sarah experienced vivid dreams about being lost at sea, and loud noises or sudden movements sometimes triggered panic responses. Dr. Martinez worked with her on coping strategies and helped her understand that these reactions were normal responses to trauma. During her hospital stay, Sarah received visits from other survival experts and marine safety specialists. Her experience provided valuable insights into long-term ocean survival, and the Coast Guard was particularly interested in lessons that could be applied to future search and rescue operations. Sarah's careful maintenance of her emergency beacon became a case study in proper use of survival equipment. The Pacific Marine Institute, where Sarah worked, had held a memorial service for her after the first week of her disappearance. Her colleagues were overjoyed to learn she was alive and began planning her return to work once she recovered. However, Sarah found herself uncertain about going back to sea, even for research purposes. Sarah's survival story inspired people around the world, but she struggled with the attention. She felt like the focus should be on the SEAL team that rescued her and the importance of proper emergency equipment, rather than on her personal ordeal. The experience had humbled her, given her a new perspective on what truly mattered in life. As Sarah's 2-week hospital stay neared its end, she began making plans for the future. Physical recovery would take months, and psychological healing might take longer. She knew that her experience had changed her in fundamental ways, and she was still discovering what those changes meant for her life and career. The friendship that developed between Sarah and Petty Officer Chen continued during the hospital stay. Chen visited several times, and they discussed both the rescue and Sarah's plans for recovery. Chen was impressed by Sarah's resilience and positive attitude despite everything she had endured. On her final day in the hospital, Sarah wrote thank you letters to every member of the SEAL team that had rescued her. She wanted them to know how much their professionalism and dedication meant to her, how their actions had given her a second chance at life. Commander Morrison later said it was one of the most meaningful acknowledgments his team had ever received. King Charles arrived at Kensington Palace on Thursday morning with the measured pace of someone who had learned to handle family crises with careful deliberation. As the eldest son of the Queen Mother and the current monarch, he carried the responsibility of ensuring that family decisions served both personal relationships and institutional stability. Princess Alexandra received him in her formal drawing room, understanding that this conversation required the dignity of official royal protocol rather than the intimate atmosphere of her private sitting room. Both understood the gravity of the situation and the need to find a resolution that honored everyone's legitimate concerns. Alexandra, Charles, began after the usual courtesies. I need to understand the reasoning behind your decision regarding Mother's jewelry collection. While I respect your authority over these items, the manner in which this matter has developed concerns me. Alexandra had prepared for this conversation since making her decision. Your Majesty, I hope you understand that my choice was not made lightly or without careful consideration of all family members. The Queen Mother entrusted me with these pieces because she wanted them to continue serving their purpose of bringing love and unity to our family. I appreciate that, Charles replied. But surely you can see how this decision might be interpreted by others. Camilla has served as queen consort with dedication and grace. Bypassing her in favor of Catherine sends a message that could be hurtful and divisive. The conversation continued for over an hour, with both royals maintaining their composure while discussing underlying tensions that went far beyond questions of jewelry and inheritance. Charles was caught between his loyalty to Camilla and his respect for his aunt's judgment, while Alexandra remained firm in her conviction that she had made the right choice based on the Queen Mother's values rather than royal. At Highgrove House, Camilla was dealing with her own emotional turmoil. She had called her sister, Annabelle, seeking support and perspective from someone outside the royal bubble who could speak honestly about the situation. I keep telling myself it's just jewelry, Camilla confided during their phone conversation, but it feels like so much more than that. It's another reminder that no matter how long I've been part of this family, I'm still seen as somehow not quite belonging. Annabelle listened with the patience of a sister who had supported Camilla through decades of public scrutiny and private challenges. But darling, surely your position speaks for itself now. You're queen consort. No one can take that away from you or diminish what you've accomplished. I know you're right, Camilla replied. But sometimes these symbolic gestures carry more weight than logic would suggest. The press will certainly have opinions about what this means. Indeed. News of the inheritance decision had begun to leak beyond palace walls, creating the kind of royal family drama that newspapers found irresistible. Early reports were cautious but suggestive, with headlines like royal jewelry, mystery, and unexpected inheritance decisions at palace. Catherine, aware that she was now at the center of unwanted attention, requested a meeting with Camilla to address the situation directly. She believed that honest conversation between the two women might help prevent the kind of misunderstanding and resentment that could damage family relationships for years. The meeting took place at Clarence's house on Friday afternoon, with both women approaching the conversation with careful courtesy that masked deeper emotions. Catherine had asked William to accompany her, but decided this was a conversation she needed to have woman to woman, without the complication of his presence. Camilla, I want you to know how difficult this situation has been for me, Catherine began as they settled in the garden room, overlooking the carefully maintained grounds. The last thing I ever wanted was to be part of anything that might cause you distress or discomfort. Camilla studied Catherine's face, seeing genuine concern and distress rather than any hint of satisfaction or triumph. I appreciate you saying that, Catherine. I know you didn't seek this situation. Princess Alexandra presented this as an honor. But I'm increasingly wondering whether accepting it was the right decision, Catherine continued. These pieces clearly hold enormous significance, and I don't want their inheritance to become a source of family division. Camilla was quiet for a moment, weighing her response carefully. She could see that Catherine was genuinely troubled by the situation and was not seeking to claim some kind of victory over her stepmother-in-law. Catherine, may I ask you something directly? Camilla said. Do you believe you deserve these pieces more than I do? The question hung in the air between them, cutting through diplomatic politeness to the heart of their mutual discomfort. Catherine felt her cheeks warm, but maintained eye contact. I don't think it's about deserving, Catherine replied slowly. I think Princess Alexandra made her decision based on her personal relationship with the Queen, Mother, and her understanding of what would best honor her memory. But I also understand how that decision must feel from your perspective. It feels, Camilla said with careful honesty, like another reminder that my place in this family is conditional, to subject to other people's judgments about my worthiness. Catherine felt her heart ache for the older woman. Despite their different positions and backgrounds, she could recognize the pain of feeling perpetually evaluated, and found somehow lacking way to honor Princess Alexandra's intentions while also acknowledging your rightful position, Catherine said. Perhaps there's a solution that we haven't considered yet. As their conversation continued, both women began to see possibilities for resolving the situation in a way that might actually strengthen rather than damage their relationship. Catherine proposed an idea that surprised Camilla with its thoughtfulness and generosity. What if we approach this as an opportunity to create a new tradition rather than following an old one? Catherine suggested. What if these pieces could rotate between us for different occasions? Or what if we used them together at family events to honor the Queen Mother's memory? Camilla considered this unexpected proposal, seeing in it both a gracious gesture and a practical solution to their dilemma. You would be willing to share pieces that were given to you personally. I would be honored to share them with you, Catherine replied sincerely. The Queen Mother loved both of us, and I think she would approve of us finding a way to let these pieces serve their intended purpose of bringing family together. For the first time since the controversy began, both women felt a sense of relief and possibility, rather than tension and conflict. The following week brought a family gathering that would serve as the first public test of the new arrangement Catherine and Camilla had privately negotiated. The occasion was a Thanksgiving service at Westminster Abbey for a charity close to the Queen Mother's heart. And both women had agreed that this would be the perfect opportunity to demonstrate their shared commitment to honoring her legacy. Catherine arrived at the service wearing the Queen Mother's pearl necklace, the same piece that had been chosen for their first meeting years ago, but around her wrist was a diamond bracelet that she had specifically asked Camilla to select from the collection, creating a visible symbol of their collaboration rather than competition. Camilla, for her part, wore the sapphire brooch that had graced so many royal Christmas celebrations. Paired with pearl earrings that Catherine had suggested would complement her outfit perfectly, when the two women took their seats in the abbey, the jewelry created a harmonious rather than conflicting impression. Princess Alexandra, watching from her own seat, felt a deep sense of satisfaction that her decision had ultimately led to greater unity rather than division. The Queen Mother, she was certain, would have been delighted to see her treasured pieces serving their intended purpose of bringing family together. The arrangement they had worked out was both practical and symbolic. For major state occasions, the pieces would be worn by whoever held the most senior position appropriate to the event. For family celebrations and personal occasions, they would rotate based on personal preference and sentimental significance. Most importantly, both women had committed to consulting each other about their choices, creating an ongoing dialogue that strengthened rather than strained their relationship. King Charles, observing the grace with which both women had handled the situation, felt proud of their maturity and wisdom. In his brief remarks at the service, he spoke about the Queen Mother's gift for bringing out the best in people and creating harmony from potential discord. Those who knew about the recent jewelry controversy understood the deeper meaning behind his words. The press coverage of the event focused on the visible unity between Catherine and Camilla, with fashion writers noting the elegant way their jewelry choices complemented each other. Several commentators observed that the two women seemed more comfortable and coordinated than ever before. Though none suspected the private negotiations that had made this possible, over the following months, their sharing arrangement evolved into something richer than either had initially expected. Camilla found herself offering styling advice to Catherine before major events, drawing on her years of experience with formal royal occasions. Catherine, in turn, shared stories about the Queen Mother that she had gathered from various family members, helping Camilla feel more connected to the history behind each piece. The real test came during the Christmas season, when both women would be attending multiple events where the jewelry would be particularly meaningful. They developed a system of coordination that ensured the pieces were distributed thoughtfully based on each occasion's significance and their personal connections to different events. At the royal family's Christmas dinner, Catherine wore the sapphire brooch that had been the Queen Mother's Christmas tradition for so many years, but she had asked Camilla to choose which earrings would best complete the ensemble, and she made sure to tell the story of the brooch's significance to the younger family members present. Camilla, attending a Boxing Day charity event that the Queen Mother had founded decades earlier, wore the pearl necklace and diamond bracelet combination. Before the event, she had called Catherine to discuss which pieces would be most appropriate for honoring the Queen Mother's memory at an occasion so close to her heart. As spring arrived, their arrangement had become so natural that other family members began to comment on the easy cooperation between the two women. Princess Anne, known for her directness, pulled Catherine aside at a family gathering to express her approval. "You and Camilla have handled this jewelry matter very well," Anne said with characteristic bluntness. "Mother would have been pleased to see you both putting family unity ahead of personal claims." The success of their arrangement also had unexpected benefits for other family relationships. The visible cooperation between Catherine and Camilla seemed to encourage greater openness and collaboration throughout the extended royal family. Cousins who had sometimes felt competitive about their positions within the hierarchy began following the example set by the two most senior women. Princess Alexandra, now in her 88th year, watched these developments with deep contentment. Her decision to give the collection to Catherine had indeed been controversial initially, but the ultimate outcome had exceeded her most optimistic hopes. The jewelry was serving its intended purpose of promoting family unity, while also creating new bonds and traditions that honored the Queen Mother's memory. On the second anniversary of the Queen Mother's death, the entire royal family gathered for a private memorial service. Catherine and Camilla had spent considerable time planning their jewelry choices for this most meaningful occasion. Catherine wore the pearl earrings that had been present at countless family dinners, while Camilla chose the diamond necklace that had sparkled at so many celebrations of love and unity as they stood together during the service. Both women felt the presence of the woman who had shaped their understanding of royal duty, family loyalty, and the importance of putting relationships before protocol. The jewelry they wore served as tangible reminders of her wisdom, warmth, and enduring influence on their family in the years that followed. Their shared stewardship of the Queen Mother's collection became a model for how royal inheritance matters could be handled with grace, generosity, and respect for both tradition and family harmony. The pieces continued to sparkle at royal events, but their true value lay in the bonds of cooperation and mutual respect they had helped create between two women who had learned to honor the past while building a stronger foundation for the future.